So Sony's Marvel's Spider-Man Venomverse has a new addition coming soon to its horrendous cinematic universe, if you can even call it that at this point. And yes, I'm talking about Madam Web. If you haven't given up on most superhero media, especially the MCU, then you most likely haven't seen this trailer that came out earlier this week, and I do not blame you. After the multiple flops that Marvel has continued to put out, my last two saving graces for the franchise was Ant-Man 3, and that was supposed to introduce the next big bad villain, Kang, and well, we know how that movie was.
Tell me what to be.
I don't know, just don't be a dick. It's never too late to stop being a dick.
And the other MCU movie that I was holding out hope for was Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and wow, that movie is beautiful. Honestly, I don't think it would be a wildly hot take to say that the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is the best piece of content the MCU has ever produced.
Cried like a baby
every time I watch Guardians 2 and 3. But even as I'm writing this, I acknowledge that 95% of the reason that the trilogy is so great and beloved isn't because of Marvel or the studio, but because of one man, James Gunn. But we're not here to talk about the decline and failure of the once great empire, the MCU. That's a video for another day. I'm here to talk about the awful Sonyverse and why any of us are actually supposed to care about this dead-on-arrival shared universe. Actually, I don't think it's called the Sonyverse. Let me look at their actual name. The Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters, or SPUMC. Wow, that is horrible. If you haven't watched the Madam Web trailer, you really aren't missing much. I just don't really know who this movie is supposed to be for. There can't be a huge amount of hardcore fans for Madam Web. I know she's a character that's been around for a while, and I really only know her from the 90s animated series, but I really don't think her character warrants having her own movie, especially when there's not a single Spider-Man in the film. I get that Sony and Marvel can't work out a deal that's a win-win for both studios, but why does Sony think they can keep getting away with making movies about Spider-Man villains with no Spider-Man or Spider-Men in their movies?
You can't keep getting away with it!
Listen, this isn't my idea. I saw this on TikTok, and I definitely don't remember who posted it, so I can't totally give credit to the original poster. The best way to approach these Sony Spider-Man villain movies, or whatever you want to call it, would be very similar to how Spider-Man Homecoming's plot was and how it revolves around the Vulture. We'd have each movie focus on a specific Spider-Man villain as the protagonist of the film. Have each Venom or Kraven movie that the studio decides to produce be an origin story that follows the villain, and have these movies serve as an introduction to the villain, and then also flesh out their motives and desires and why they are doing what they want to do. Have all the reasons laid out right then. Behind every great villain throughout film history is a character that the audience can reason and relate with. Think of your favorite villains: Darth Vader, Thanos, Killmonger. All of these villains had motives that us, the audience, we could understand, even if we didn't necessarily agree with them. The Vulture wasn't the protagonist in Homecoming, but we got to see his motive for why he does what he does, and that only made him a better villain. He's one of the more memorable villains in the Marvel Universe. It's blatantly obvious that Sony wants to set up their own Sinister Six movie. I'm pretty sure that was a movie that was once announced or rumored to be, but I think it's probably changed by now. If I was in charge of the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, man, they really need a better name. The first thing I would do would be to change the name, but then the next thing I would do would set up 6 individual movies about 6 Spider-Man villains, because they obviously want to do a Sinister Six. It could be any of Spider-Man's villains, but preferably it would be some of the most iconic Sinister Six members. For instance, let's say we have Doc Ock, Electro, Scorpion, Rhino, Vulture, and Kraven. You could even make a 7th movie about Kingpin and have him be the one that gets the group together, similar to how Nick Fury got all the Avengers together. In each of these movies, you will have the villains be the main characters and the protagonists of the film. We will build them up and flesh out their character traits only to have Spider-Man, and I can't stress this enough, have the same Spider-Man, whether it's Andrew Garfield, since this is technically like a Sonyverse, or have Tom Holland's Spider-Man be the main antagonist in each villain's film that defeats them ultimately at the end. Have Spider-Man win every single time. Build up each villain's specific and individual hatred for Spider-Man. Have us, the audience, be rooting for these villains in their own movie, and then honestly be a little annoyed that Spider-Man foiled their plan. Then, after 6 of those movies, we'll have the gang come together and fight the one antagonist all 6 of them have been defeated by: Spider-Man. Now this Sinister Six movie, can have the villains as the main characters, or we can switch it up and have Spider-Man finally be the protagonist and then defeat the Sinister Six. Honestly, I don't really care as long as we loosely stick to this formula. Okay, now that I've pitched what I would do if I was in charge of the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel Studios, let's look at what they've done and are currently building up to do. We have 2 decent, but mainly really just fun, bad Venom movies, and a 3rd one on the way. We have a Morbius film that was so good, it got re-released back into cinemas. We have a one Kraven the Hunter movie where the rumor is Kraven, instead of being the hunter that we know he is going to be an animal rights activist. And now we have a Madam Web movie, which by the looks of the trailer looks worse than anything the CW has ever released. Also, for the record, can I just say that it is extremely embarrassing as a superhero fan that Venom is getting his own trilogy before a modern-day Superman trilogy. Spider-Man is such a beloved character by people of all ages, and he arguably has the best rogues gallery in all of comics. It pains me to see the direction that Sony is taking these iconic characters. No one cares about them, and these movies are part of the reason why people are starting to have superhero movie fatigue. After Venom showed up and then immediately left at the end of No Way Home, not to mention Michael Keaton's Vulture that got transported into Morbius and had that terrible post-credit scene.
Not sure how I got here. Has to do with Spider-Man, I think.
It's likely that Sony is trying to connect all of these movies to Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. It was rumored earlier this week from reliable Twitter leaker Daniel RPK that Spider-Man 4 will have connections to the Sony Marvel Universe, and given Madam Web's interdimensional powers, I think this just might be the movie or the character that helps combine the two movie universes. And I just gotta say, I hate the idea of that. Give Tom Holland's Spider-Man a street-level villain to fight in his fourth movie. Let the man get away from all this multiverse drama. Have him meet his best friend Harry Osborn or Gwen Stacy in college. Have him fight a street-level villain, kind of like Scorpion. Let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing how I would write Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. No matter what Sony decides to do with their shared universe, just know that day one I will be there to watch the horrendous slop they keep putting out for every single one of their movies. Hopefully the higher-ups at this studio will start to listen to the very few fans that they have left and start making good decisions with these beloved characters that they sadly hold the movie rights to. If you made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you for watching. It truly means a lot. I love talking about this type of stuff, and I've always kind of just had a passion or dream of one day I would make videos like this on the internet and hopefully entertain an audience. I'm starting to make these videos now on a consistent basis, and I have no plans on stopping soon. So if there's a lack of content in the future, please, comment or hold me accountable. Like always, let me know what type of content you'd like to see from me in the future. If you like this video, go ahead and please like the video. It just helps push the video out into the algorithm and stuff. I have a goal of hitting 100 subscribers by the end of 2023, and engaging in the video helps a lot with that. That's going to do it now for this video. Take care of yourself.